Hello everybody and welcome to my channel. In this video today I'm going to talk about the 3 books that I finished in the month of January 2022. A big accomplishment for me. I haven't even finished one book in 1 month in ages. So this was big deal, very big deal. So I want to talk about them, who I reckon they're for, what you can get out of them. I hope you enjoy. So in the order that I read them in, I'll start with The Family Law by Benjamin Law. It's such an easy read. That was the main thing that I took away from it. I finished it in around a couple days, actually, to be honest. The language is really uncomplicated and really relatable. And that might be in part because the author is also a queer Asian Australian child of immigrants who grew up in Queensland, where I'm growing up. But there's something still very universal. He captures really universal but really unique experiences at the same time, and the language is just so funny. Like, I was like belly laughing from a book, which I haven't done in a really long time, so I really enjoyed it. Benjamin Law is this journalist, sort of news columnist, like my parents knew of him, and this book is written in that very succinct style. So each chapter is just exploring a different part of his identity, a different part of his life growing up. So it's very autobiographical in a way, but they're written in an essay-like structure with a lot of humor that isn't referential humor. It's just humor in the absurdity, and I really enjoyed it. So I'd recommend it for anyone who's trying to get back into reading, and recommend it especially for queer Asian kids in Australia. I think it's a lot of fun, and I think you just get a kick out of it. Like, I even recommended it for my mum, and she started it a week ago. She's not a big reader either, but look at where she's at already. So yeah, it's a buy. I definitely recommend. I cannot say the same thing for the second book that I read this month, which was Yukio Mishima's Confessions of a Mask. It is a book translated from Japanese to English by someone called Meredith Weatherby, and the language used in this book is really complex. There's a lot of college words, compound words, and the sentences are long, and the subject matter itself that it explores is quite deep. And the layers that this book uncovers and explores and the themes that they go through gives a lot more food for thought compared to something like The Family Law. But with that being said, I enjoyed it just as equally, even if it took me a little longer to read. And I enjoyed it because, well, the title's really correct. It's a confession, and it's done in such a way that's so eloquent and so not full of pretense or pretentiousness. It's just, this is who I am, this is who I present, this is the dissonance between those two things, and this is why I have to experience that dissonance and why I titillate between those two things. And it's really a really interesting and beautiful read, especially if you're into queer literature. This is queer literature from 1949 from the East, so it is really a unique book from that perspective, I guess. But it's also just so unafraid to go there, which I hate to use to describe a book, because I think, you know, in part, both of these books have been just as confessional as each other. But this book explores what's it like to experience sexual desire versus insecurity of your manliness, to be growing up in a wartime period, and therefore how that affects how you view violence. It's so interesting, it's so unique in that way, and I really enjoyed it. I'd recommend it for anyone who is interested in learning about queer literature, or anyone who feels like they might be alone, or might be fucked up in the things that they fantasize about at night or whatever, because this guy will make you feel less fucked up and less alone, to say the least. I thought to myself reading, I'm like, well, I can't be that bad if this guy in 1949 was thinking these things. And maybe that says more about me than anything, but if you feel that, yeah, I would it's a buy. I definitely recommend. So the third book that I finished in January was Ali Wong's Dear Girls. which was a really simple and easy read, again I would say. I think it helped being familiar with Ali Wong's Netflix specials, Netflix movie, and just how she is as a character in pop culture. But that being said, I don't think you need to have watched them to get a kick out of this book. Each chapter is a letter to her daughters, exploring a different part of her life. And so each chapter begins with "Dear girls." For example, it can be like, "Dear girls, I want to talk to you about what's it like growing up as the youngest of 4 siblings." Or, "Dear girls, I want to talk to you about what's it like to be a stand-up comedian." And she explores different facets of her life and therefore her identity, being an Asian woman in Hollywood, having studied abroad, being a wife, being a mother, being a daughter. And I think for that reason, anyone can get a kick out of this, because she just shares what it's like in a pretty honest way, and she is pretty funny. That being said, there is a lot of referential humor in this, and being Australian, being significantly younger than Ali Wong, I didn't get some of them, but the references were always the twigs to the point she was making. The point she was making was always the trunk, and there's enough context clues for you to be like, ah, that's what you mean, okay. And so I can definitely recommend for anyone who wants to pursue a career in stand-up. There's quite a few points about what's it like to be on the road, what's it like starting out, traveling the circuit, and I really appreciated that. And of course, for anyone who is a fan of Ali Wong, I actually felt really connected to her when reading this, because it does feel like it came straight from her. And I actually cried. I don't know if I'm going through something or what, but I cried at the end. Because there's a special letter from her husband and the father of the girls, and I thought that was really just so sweet, and how he talked about Ali and how he talks about the girls, and it's just so darling. And so I can definitely recommend it. It's a buy as well. All 3 of these books are buys. I definitely recommend. I hope you enjoyed this little video. I know it's a bit random. I'm still trying to figure out what I want to do for this channel, and I just figure, let's just capture who I am at this age and what I'm doing, which includes reading 3 books a month. So I hope to see you in the beginning of March as I talk about the books I've read in February. But I'm probably going to upload a video between then, hopefully. So I'll see you then as well. Thanks for watching. Bye bye.